Hello everyone, today I will introduce the QoS feature within the object. First, let's explain the purpose of QoS. QoS is quality of service. The first one is it can limit and guarantee bandwidth. Guaranteeing bandwidth means calculating based on the maximum capacity that the entire interface can provide. For example, if the maximum external bandwidth is only 100 megabits per second, it is impossible to guarantee more than 100 megabits because 100 megabits already exceeds the line bandwidth limit. The second one is it can be restricted based on rows or source IP addresses. The third one is, in addition to zones, it can also control the bandwidth of ports. You can adjust them with this item. The Enable option in QoS setting control whether the entire QoS function is enabled. So if you need to enable QoS in the policy, please make sure to check the Enable option. Otherwise, QoS will not have any effect. So don't forget to check this item. The maximum traffic in QoS setting of QoS is fundamental. If the QoS setting is set to 10 megabits per second, then the maximum value in the QoS list will also become 10 megabits. So the maximum traffic value in the QoS list is based on the QoS setting. If you want to add a new QoS list, just click Add to include it. And the maximum value in the QoS list depends on the QoS settings. Therefore, my lane is limited to a maximum of only 10 megabits because my QoS setting have restricted it. And the basic mode is for bandwidth management of zones. The advanced mode is for bandwidth management of ports. In my case, I am using the advanced mode, and my LAN 2 is a multiple port zone. In the advanced mode, you can set the traffic limits for each port individually. In the selected bandwidth mode, you can choose per policy base or per source IP base. Later, I will explain the difference between the two modes. First, I am going to talk about that select bandwidth mode setting is set to per policy base. How will it be allocated? Here is an example where the maximum traffic for QoS is set to 10 megabits per second. Assuming the per policy base is used, it means that the IP using this policy will share the 10 megabits equally among them. Expressed as a calculating formula, the concept is like this. 10 megabits is allocated to the source IPs that use this policy. So if the range of source IP restricted by your policy rule is large, the allocated bandwidth should be higher. Otherwise, there might be an issue of insufficient bandwidth distribution. When your select bandwidth mode setting is set to per source IP base, how will it be allocated? If using per source IP base, you need to ensure that the total interface bandwidth is sufficient for each IP. For example, if the maximum interface bandwidth is 1 gigabit per second, and the administrator limits the bandwidth to guarantee 10 megabits per IP. With a maximum of 100 IP, using it simultaneously, then 100 should multiply 10 megabits equal 1000 megabits, which is exactly 1 gigabit. This way, it can be properly allocated. But if more IPs are used, it will lead to inaccurate allocation. The calculation method is like this. If 10 megabits is set, it needs to be multiplied by each user's IP address. So they will share this maximum bandwidth. QoS can also set priorities, with store members representing higher priorities. This setting means that when multiple QoS lists are applied simultaneously, bandwidth can be allocated according to the priority order of the QoS list. If the priorities are all set to 1, then the bandwidth will be allocated based on the guaranteed bandwidth, which is the minimum bandwidth. Suppose I want to add a new rule and apply QoS. There are two ways to set it up. The first way is to set it up in QoS first, and then select it in the rules. So I can set up my QoS list here. Then I go to add a new rule and select my QoS list here. The second way is to directly add this QoS in the rules. So I will go to add a new rule and I will add my QoS here, and a window will pop up for you to set it. Both ways are feasible. You can choose based on your hobby. The most important point is that the QoS interface must be checked to enable it. Now let's discuss an issue. What will happen if multiple policies apply the same QoS list? We will explain two scenarios in total. The applied QoS list guarantee 40 megabits and have a maximum settings of 50 megabits. But the mode of the two scenarios are different. First, we will discuss the mode of per policy based. Then we will cover the mode of per source IP base. So let me show the result of per policy based mode. Below you can see my QoS list settings. I have set the size to 40 megabits to 50 megabits. The mode is per policy based. My role policy settings. The source IPs of the two roles are different, but they both apply the same QoS list. As the result of the configuration, when the two IPs are online simultaneously, the bandwidth will be evenly distributed. The maximum 50 megabits will be split between the two IPs. So you can see the IP address of that 100. It gets 26 megabits, and the IP address of 84. It gets 26 megabits too. So the maximum 50 megabits is split. Next is the second scenario. Like the first scenario, we use the guarantee 40 megabits and the maximum 50 megabits bandwidth setting. The mode is per source IP base. Below is the QoS list setting, and you can see the bandwidth is set to 40 to 50 megabits. The mode is per source IP base. And my rule, each of the two different IPs has its own rule, and both apply the same QoS list. With this configuration, when the two IPs are online simultaneously, both IPs can achieve a maximum bandwidth of 50 megabits. So the result of applying the same QoS in different modes are different. This represents that when the rules of two modes are applied at the same time, their results are different. This is the procedure for setting the rules. If we want to include QoS in the rule control, we usually set up QoS before the rule control steps. Then we add it in the fifth step. Next is set up demonstration for combining rules with the QoS. There are two interfaces for these conditions, one lane and one WAN. My lane is 1.0/24, and my WAN IP address is 186.87. There are two requirements. The first one is that video devices 1.10 and 1.11 have a guaranteed bandwidth of 10 megabits and a maximum bandwidth of 30 megabits. The second one is that allow external access to view the status of DVR 1.200 through port 8443, but limits the maximum bandwidth to 10 megabits. And you have to note that QoS must be enabled for the interface. The first requirement is that video devices 1.10 and 1.11 have a guaranteed bandwidth of 10 megabits and the maximum bandwidth of 30 megabits. First, let's go to QoS list and set QoS minimum and maximum. Find the QoS list and click Add. This is This is an internet access rule, so I will choose to use when for the description. And I choose to use per source IP base. Next, add a new rule. I have bound the video devices 1.10 and 1.11 into an IP address group. I select this IP address group. The name is video conference, and then choose the QoS for 10 and 30. After adding, you will see the rule like this. Finally, make sure to go to QoS setting and check if the QoS for WAN1 is enabled. The second requirement is that allow external access to view the status of DVR 1.200 through port 8443, but limit the maximum bandwidth to 10 megabits. Similarly, go to Add QoS List, guaranteeing a flow from 1 to 10 megabits. Then I set the mode to per policy base. Next, add a new rule. Set up mapped IP and select the QoS setting with maximum of 10 megabits. Then you will see that the rule has applied QoS. Finally, make sure to go to QoS and confirm that QoS is enabled for the control interface. Don't forget it, or the QoS will not effect. This is the explanation of QoS. Thank you, everyone.